Hey everybody, happy 2018. Welcome back to Being the Marshmallow. I am, as always, Bob Wagner. Sorry that this video is a few weeks late. Obviously, we just had the holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, and that was kind of a busy time for us here. Hope you guys had a terrific holiday season. Hope everything was happy and healthy, both physically and psychologically for you. Hope you were safe, and I hope the drama was limited to who gets the last drumstick rather than something much worse. Hope you're having a good 2018 so far. This post is one that was inspired by an incident that occurred a few weeks back here at the house. My wife and I, you've seen my wife on camera, I talk about her extensively because she is the major strand, if you will, in my support net. She is my rock and she is the love of my life. And we were here at the house watching TV as we do most nights, and we're watching Marvel's Netflix. Great show, by the way. I should say, not Marvel's Netflix, I'm sorry. Marvel's The Punisher on Netflix. Sorry, it's been a long day. I start my day at 5 a.m. and it's like 8 o'clock now. And we're watching The Punisher, and there's a scene where one of the characters who is just riddled with PTSD. I mean, we're talking rage flashes, hallucinations. At one point, the guy digs a fighting hole in the backyard, and he lives in that because he can't, cope with living in a house anymore. He brought the war back with him. And at one point, he gets so spun up that he takes his service pistol that he brought home from the war, and he puts it in his mouth, and he rolls back the hammer on this piece. And he's got that thing inside his mouth. And now, for me, this is not an unfamiliar experience. As I've mentioned before, I've got 4 suicide attempts under my belt, and one of them did involve a handgun. Just for some reason, the weapon was defective, and it misfired. So I'm watching this, and yeah, it brought back some unpleasant memories. Like, yeah, been there, know what that tastes like. And my hand starts hurting. And I glance down, and my beautiful wife is just white-knuckling my hand. She's grabbed hold of my hand, and she's clinging onto it, and her breathing is getting, her respiration is getting elevated, and she's very clearly very distressed by this scene, disproportionate to what's happening on the screen. I mean, yeah, it was a very tense situation, very fraught with pathos and drama, really powerful scene. And you can tell that she's having basically near trauma reactions to this. And it hit me. I'm like, she's reacting that way because it's reminding her of how close I've come, how close she has come to losing her best friend, her soulmate, the love of her life. And it hit me because this is something, this should not be a revelation, but it is something that we don't tend to think about as PTSD sufferers because we're so busy fighting this disease that we don't typically, I don't think it really occurs to us very often that we're not the only ones who have a dog in this fight. We're not the only ones struggling with this. For us, for us it's much more immediate because we're the ones dealing with the symptoms and the constant stress of it every day. But the people who love us, our friends, our significant others, if we have blood relations who we're on good terms with, literally anybody that we would consider family, they're having to deal with this too, okay? It's not just about us. Because while we're busy coping with this horrible, terrible medical condition that none of us asked for, they are watching someone they love fight for their sanity and fight for their lives every single friggin' day, okay? And I honestly can't imagine too many more miserable, helpless things than watching somebody you love struggle sometimes very literally for their lives, and be completely unable to really do anything about it or take away their pain, okay? And that is something that we need to be mindful of, because, I mean, let's face it, if the disease wins and we check out, if we leave the party early, our pain is done, okay? I don't know what you believe, but it's over for us. They're the ones who are stuck here. And even if we don't, they are still witness to our suffering and to our struggle, and to watching someone that they think very highly of, that they think is a good person. Well, what the hell did this person ever do to deserve that? There's rapists and child molesters who are living the high life, and this good person that I know who is, they go to work and they follow the rules, and in many cases they serve their country with honor. They're dealing with this. That isn't fair. That isn't right. How dare the universe do that? And when they see us struggling, it's painful for them. And I think it's important for us as PTSD sufferers to be cognizant of that and to acknowledge their fight. And yeah, I mean, obviously we may not necessarily have a ton of resources, but to just say, hey, look, I appreciate you standing by and being with me and being in my corner. Because let's face it, folks, there's no rule on earth. There's no law that says that they got to stick around, okay? They can save themselves a lot of heartache by walking out that door. All right? My wife, she doesn't have to stay. Nobody in this world would blame her for divorcing my ass. Our friends, our blood relatives, every single one of them, they can go, too much for me, man, I'm out. And they stick around. And they stick around at the cost of stress for themselves, pain for themselves from watching someone they love, as I've said, fight this terrible condition. And we need to acknowledge that. That's a sacrifice. That's a gift. And we need to offer what assistance we can to them, okay? It can't be all one way. They can't give and give and give and give to us and expect nothing in return. There has to be times where we can turn to them and say, you know what? I'm here for you. I see you fighting too. Thank you for standing by me. Let me be strong for you for a few minutes. Okay? And anything more than that is just going to be me repeating myself. So, in summation, acknowledge the fact that the people who love you are in their own fight with this condition. Acknowledge that they are expending resources and subjecting themselves to stress and pain watching us endure this fight. And acknowledge it openly to them. Say, I see how this affects you. And say the words, thank you for standing by me. Simple phrase, thank you. And even if it's something as simple as saying, hey, let me hold you, okay? I think that's what I did after that scene, is I pulled her into my arms and I held her and I said, hey, I ain't going anywhere, lover. You're stuck with me. Something that simple can make all the difference, and it can refill the well for them and give them the strength to be strong for us when we so desperately need it. Here endeth the lesson. Y'all have a good night. Be warm, be safe, be here when I get